When I was 5 years old, my parents brought home my little brother, Joe. And he was perfect in every way. He was tiny and covered in old man wrinkles. It was then that I knew I wanted to be a father. I would change diapers, I potty trained him, and to be honest, I don't know if Joe was just a good behaving baby or some genetic disposition that drove me. All I know is that no matter what else happened in my life, I was going to have kids and be the best father that I could be for them. What would you do for your children? In Fatherhood by Stephen Mazzell, we meet a young man who has decided his destiny and gives everything to see it come true. My sophomore year of college, I met Anna. She just came up to me in the cafeteria one day when I was sitting alone. Just plopped down the other side of the table, like we've been meeting this way for months. Do you have any mayonnaise? Already reaching for one of my extra packets. That is how I met my future wife. And we continue to meet for lunch, and I always brought an extra mayo packet or two. It was our little inside joke. But when she asked me why I hadn't picked a definitive major, I was hesitant to tell the real reason. But I wanted to be honest with her. So I explained, I'm honestly here to meet my wife, so we can have kids and I can stay home with them. She was stunned. But then a smile the size of her entire face appeared. So I'd be the big money maker, eh? The one wearing the pants? She took my hand and kissed it on the middle knuckle, confirming our future. We were engaged within the week and married 3 months later, and we decided to settle in a small town in Kansas. We were welcomed in his family, and finally, feeling settled, it was time to expand our family. And then 7 months after we first began trying, Hannah was late. We tried so hard to hold our excitement, but after a week went by, nothing had happened. It was time to pull out one of the many pregnancy tests. We were gonna have a baby. And she was the picture of a perfect pregnancy. I began not just to read, but to study the baby preparation books. I basically destroyed my mother-in-law's old baby name book. And, of course, my favorite, the nursery. I painted the walls Kelly green. I decorated them with patterns of leaves, trees, and animals. I bought whatever a new baby could ever need, want, or use. And Anna's mom decided to start planning her baby shower. And we figured that about a month before the due date would be safe. But Anna's body had different plans. I must have been sleeping hard because she ended up hitting me to wake me up. And the light was shining through our window on the tears pouring down her face. I think I'm in labor. I went to ask if she was sure, but she was already bent over in excruciating pain. Every bump on the way to the hospital was like torture. It was not supposed to go like this. We were supposed to wait at home, counting contractions, drinking coffee, picking out which outfit our kid would come home in. But there was none of that. Just a pool of blood on the passenger seat. We were swarmed by nurses the moment we walked through the door. And, of course, I left my wallet with all of our information in the car. I'll be right back. I just need to grab my wallet. By the time I came back, they had carted her away into an operating room I wasn't allowed in. Instead, I was shown the coffee bar. The coffee bar. The coffee bar. While my wife and future child are fighting for their lives, I get coffee. So there I was, sitting on a hard, uncomfortable chair, drinking from a styrofoam cup of terrible coffee. Just waiting. I kept thinking I should call her parents. They were dying to be grandparents. I convinced myself that when Anna was better, we would call, explain. But an hour or so later, doctor came out and knelt in front of me. We lost your wife. The rest of the words became like white noise to me. But then came the words that cut through the static entirely. The baby survived and is stable, but will have to spend some time in the NICU. It's a go. And he left me there. Anna's funeral was held while Elizabeth was still in the NICU. I brought Elizabeth to an empty home, just set her down in her crib, stared at her. She cried nearly non-stop. Even when she slept, I would lie awake in my too big of a bed, feeling the emptiness beside me. It would never be filled. It was just me and Elizabeth. The reason Anna was gone. I began to approach the end of my very short rope. Elizabeth would scream and I would scream right back to her tiny, pitiful face. I couldn't take it anymore. I just needed sleep. With a good night's rest, I could finally be the father I always dreamed of being. She would be okay for just one night on her own. She wouldn't starve. I would change her diaper the second I got back. And it was okay to let a baby cry it out, right? I knew she would be safer if I just had some rest. So I fed her, I changed her, I swaddled her, and I placed her carefully in her crib. Then I left her, along with my phone to make sure there were no distractions. I then checked myself into a motel for the night. Four weeks later, the cops began pounding on my motel door. I calmly got out of bed, slowly walked to the door, and opened it. I was yanked forward and handcuffed. I didn't protest as they dragged me towards the cruiser. I didn't plead my innocence. I didn't put up a fight. Because after all, I was guilty. Guilty of thinking that I was meant to be a father. Even guiltier of being completely wrong. Thank you.